So you finished my first video on how to make a brand new model in Blender. It's very exciting. That means you're ready for step 2, making it move. So let's say, hypothetically, if we jump right back into it, you are back at the very beginning. No! Well, that's fine. You can take out your anger on this light and this camera by pressing the delete key, and then we can turn this beautiful moldable little piece into something I like to call a cube goblin. Now, it's called a cube goblin because it is made purely of cubes, which makes it easy for me to showcase and easy for you to follow along. And plus, you only really need to know how to make joints and an armature, so that way you can transfer that knowledge to whatever you so please. So, bring this guy up a little bit, and we're going to give him some legs. Now, cube goblins are very known for being bipedal creatures. They're one of the few that are like that. So we're going to scale this on anything except for the z-axis by holding Shift Z, and we're going to change it by 0.3. That's right. Reminder: you can specify your transforms by just typing. You don't have to actually use your mouse to move around. It makes it a lot faster, and it's how we do the next thing, which is keeping track of our transforms. Now, since they're bipedal, that means ideally they would have to have 2 legs that are in equal different distance apart from each other. That way they can keep balance, and that way they don't have any issue falling over. So, I like to keep my transforms simple. We'll just say that this moves on the y-axis by 0.5. That's easy to remember, because then when we press Shift D to duplicate it, all we have to do is press -1 on the y-axis, and there we are, 2 evenly spaced legs. How exciting. Now, this is pretty cool so far. We have a little guy, he just kind of has his legs. It's already fairly anthropomorphized in my head. How adorable. But we do have a problem here. Now, the little guy, he doesn't have any joints, and so, if he tries walking around, he'll just kind of fiddle around like that chair from Suzuki, which, although adorable, isn't very ideal for his balance. So, we're going to have to give this guy some knees. We're going to do that by Control-J-ing both of these objects to make them one object, and then going into Edit mode to loop cut both of them at the same spot. Look at that. Now we have 2 pairs of strapping legs for this adorable young man. Now, here's the issue though. This poor guy, he doesn't have any bones. And so, if he was to walk around as it is right now, he would very likely kind of turn into a meat puddle, sack of flesh, similar to the Mind Flare in Season 3 of Stranger Things. Now that's sub-ideal, so we're going to take the body, and we're going to merge it with we're going to Control-J with the legs there, so we have a full body, and we're going to give this guy a skeleton. The way that you give something a skeleton in Blender is you press Shift-A, and then you move down to the armature, and you add an armature. This is our first bone, and the main body of our cube goblin. Now, if we go into edit mode, we'll have a lot of options to do with this bone. Now, cube goblins, being purely bipedal and just on 2 feet, they have a lot of mobility that they need to do, which means they need to have bones for both the thigh and the calf. Now, before I forget, it's very important that we name these bones by going into armature and see this bone. We're just going to name it skull. Very exciting. Now we can go and we can take this bone, we can Shift duplicate it, and now we have a new bone on the y-axis. We'll bring to 0.5 and GZ to -1. Here we are, that's going to be our thigh bone there, but it's named Skull 1 right there. Now, that's less than ideal for us. So we're going to take our mouse over to where it's called Skull 1, and we're going to rename it to thigh.L. Now, why did I specify .L? Well, of course, because this is the left thigh, and I want Blender to know that this is the left thigh. Otherwise, there's a lot of things that we wouldn't have access to, so it's important that we name our bones accordingly by ending them with the .l or .r suffix. Now, here's the thing. If I just shift duplicate this, there's no telling that this is exactly where I need it to be. So we're not going to shift D it. Instead, we're going to select the end joint here, and we're going to extrude it down by -1 on the z-axis. There we go. What a beautiful pair of legs that is. Now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to shift D, and we're going to move it on the y-axis by -0.5, and then on the z-axis by -1, and then extrude this on the z-axis by -1 as well. And there you have it. You have a beautiful skeleton with a with a thigh on the right and a calf on the right, as well as a calf on the left. There you go. Now see how all of these are named in order to organize and also tell Blender exactly what I need them to do. This is going to be very important for later, so be very sure that you name all of your bones accordingly. We are then going to move over to object mode, because here we have a new problem. See, now this little guy, he has bones and he has flesh, but he doesn't have any nerves and he doesn't have any muscles. This is a big issue for the cube goblin, because similarly to before it had a skeleton, it'll simply just fall down into a sack of meat, just with the slight difference of having some sticks inside that don't do anything. So we are going to give this little guy some muscles, and we're going to give him some nerves. The way we can do that is by selecting the armature, and then selecting the body, and then pressing Control P. When we have Control P, we unlock the Set Parent to menu here, and we're going to bring the mouse down to With Automatic Weights. See that? Now we have a body with nerves, and we can measure that by going over here, going to Pose Mode, and now you can move. Look at that. Look how exciting that is. Hey! Oh, but there's a little bit of an issue here. See, when the cube goblin moves his head, his legs don't even budge. And considering the legs are attached to the head, that is very inaccurate to the anatomy of the cube goblin. So we're going to go down and we're going to go into object mode, and we're going to select the cube by double left clicking. Not the armature, but the cube itself. We're going to go up to object mode, and we're going to swap that over for weight paint mode. Weight paint mode allows for us to go into each individual bone and specify how strong it is, how much influence each bone has over each part of the body. So we are going to go and up to the tippy top, and there we are. We have calf.r. We're going to change that to the skull. How exciting! Now I can't see the inside where the bone is. However, you can clip through, and now you can see each vertex. And it's important you can see each vertex because the way that weight painting works in Blender is it specifies by vertex as opposed to by face. So if you have something you need to be changed in your rig, when it comes to specification, it goes by vertex, so keep that in mind. This is also the same reason why you need to mess around with the vertices and loop cut in order to make your joints, so that way you can do something like mess around with the amount that it affects this. There you go. Now here we have two legs at the very top. The top of the calves are now affected by the head. How does this change things? Well, if we go over here into object mode, swap over to the armature, and move around the head, there you have it. Now the legs move alongside with the head, which is a lot more accurate to the biology of the cube goblin. So, this guy now has the brains, he now has the muscle, he now has the bones, and he has the nerves needed in order to walk around. So why doesn't he? Well, just like any other baby who's just been born, the little cube goblin hasn't learned how to yet. How utterly tragic. So we're going to teach him. How exciting! We're going to do that by moving our mouse up to the tippy top to the animation, in which we are in a brand new menu. Now, when we go over to the wireframe here, you're going to notice we are automatically in pose mode. Or, if you're not in pose mode, you should change into pose mode, because it's very important that you're in pose mode. Now, there's a lot of overwhelming things on this menu, which is why we're not going to use this menu. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take our mouse down to the dope sheet, and we're going to change it to the action editor. This is where you store all the information to our little baby guy here. Now, we want him to walk, so we're going to add a new animation, and we're going to name it Walk. There we are. Now this shield will allow you to save the animation, and of course, we don't want our guy to forget how to walk, so make sure you have this toggled on whenever you are finished with your animation, or if you're starting a new one, just so that way you can come back to it. Now, what we have here is a little bit confusing. It's not immediately apparent what you're supposed to do, but that's why I'm here, so I'm going to teach you. Now, first things first, our little guy, he's got to move his leg forward. So we're going to move his leg forward. Jeez. There you go. Well, we'll move it back, I guess. There we go. A lot of this for me is just kind of feeling it out, just kind of getting into the rhythm. That way we can go G over here on the x-axis, bring it by 0.5, and now we have our first pose. How do we save this pose, you ask? Well, you're going to press A to select all of the bones, and you're going to press Control I. I lied. You're just going to press I. Hold on. Press A and then press I. All right. Now, you'll notice that a few things popped up down here. This is going to be your kind of your keyframes here. Keyframes are the immediate pose as we go frame by frame to make this little guy move. Now, that's our first pose. So, when he takes his next step, evidently it's going to be the opposite. So we're going to press Control C and then Control Shift V. And then, you can mess around that however you like. I think here I'm just gonna rotate it by, well, that's not true. I'm not gonna hold this. I'm just gonna Control C and then Control Shift V. Okay. Control Shift Z V. Oh, Control Z. Control Shift V. Okay, well, sometimes you're gonna have to do this manually. Ideally, what this does is it makes it so that these flip onto a different axis. Oh wait, flipped. There we go. There we go. Make it so it's not flipped on the x-axis. And there you have it. Now you have your second pose, I. Hey, that means... Oh. Okay. Okay, well, listen. Already, you have a lot of power here because you can just move the bones manually. I'm just trying to give you a cool little, shortcut here because you can just select this, Control C, and then flip it with Control Shift V. Whatever. We're just gonna do this manually then. Well, that's his first pose. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. We're going to go over to this 6 frame mark, and we're going to rotate and bring it back. There you go. And then over here, we're going to rotate, and then bring it forward. X-axis. There you go. AI. And then you can Control C, Control V, and I. And now, theoretically, we have a walk cycle. There you go. And now we have a cube goblin. That is the... Isn't that just the most adorable thing you've ever seen? What a cutie pie. Now that we have a cube goblin, that is going to be the full tutorial. I hope you were able to follow that. Sorry about the end when I tried to get the Control-Shift-V thing working. It usually works. That's the reason why you add the suffix .l or .l and .r. It's in order for Blender to recognize which is which. So with that in mind, I will catch you next time, and you better have a good night. I'm serious. I don't think you think I'm serious, but I am serious. You already know I'm watching you. It's not a secret. It's been established in a few videos now that I am watching you. And I'll be sure you have a good night. I am making sure you have a good night.